Thank you very much for the introduction, and thank you everyone to be attending this session. So I'm presenting today a work that was done in collaboration with my two colleagues at INRIA Paris, Floriane Chiffoleau and Hugo Scheithauer. And we're presenting a solution to contribute to an open source project and its documentation. I'm going to sit down. So the digital humanities are typically prone to producing research software. To name a few, we've talked about Gephi just before, but also WAM tools for text analysis, Recogito for semantic image annotation, or even Transcribus for handwritten text recognition. There are multiple listings online like the one offered by Awesome Digital Humanities, and even the notorious Digital Humanities Awards organized by James Cummings gives a good idea of the productivity of the field. The software the software our team is particularly interested in is eScriptorium. It's an open source web application developed since 2019, originally by a team named eScripta, within the framework of the Scripta PSL project. It aims at facilitating the use of handwritten text recognition. The web application is coupled with Kraken, a software in charge of the deep learning related features. And it's developed by Ben Kissling since 2015. This software is important at a time when automatic text recognition has clearly become an essential technology in the toolbox of patrimonial institutions and individuals in digital or non-fully digital humanities. However, eScriptorium definitely belongs to the category of expert software, as it offers a wide range of functionalities. This means that new users will be on a steep learning curve, having to familiarize themselves with the interface, with key concepts of machine learning, and with good practices specific to automatic text recognition. To complicate the case of eScriptorium, up until last year, eScriptorium did not have a centralized user documentation. And this is what Floriane, Hugo, and I contributed to this project, not as members of the team, we're not, but as more or less expert users. So let's briefly see how we addressed the existing situation for the documentation, and then we'll discuss the contribution of such an initiative to accelerating the integration of open source research software to larger infrastructures. The success of software extends beyond its ability to meet a specific need. It must also be welcoming to new users, which can be ensured by several means: the design of the user interface, the compatibility of the tool with the rest of the software environment, but also the availability of a reliable documentation. As for eScriptorium, given the limited size of the team responsible for the development, no official extensive documentation was ever created, and instead, most of the available documentation was user-generated content scattered across the web and scattered across various media, and it was tailored to the needs of the user group which generated it. The core source provided a developer-oriented documentation. eScripta's blog showcased key features in the form of short videos, a galaxy of tutorials in English, French, German, or Polish, written by non-members of the eScripta team, was published on various websites, but they were rarely up to date. And also numerous hands-on workshops were conducted by eScripta or by user groups sharing a specific interest in the application. There was one such workshop organized at the ADHO conference in Tokyo. And lastly, a few channels, like on Gitter or via simply emails, allow for punctual technical discussions with contributors and users of eScriptorium. The situation was challenging because not everyone has access to the workshops, and locating tutorials or videos could be cumbersome. Plus, they might not cover all features and all workflows, especially when they were not up to date. The absence of updates could be caused by inadequate publication formats, with platforms hard to edit. That was the case for our documentation initially. A lack of stake to do so for the editors, or simply the unavailability of individuals to perform the updates, especially once the funding to a project has ended. Considering the difficulty for eScripta to propose a comprehensive reference documentation, We wanted to create a documentation website designed to meet 3 essential criteria. It needed to be easily maintainable, since eScriptorium has yet to achieve a stable official release. It had to be open to external contributions, and it had to support multilingualism. We consider that the key to creating an easily maintained documentation lies in its modularity, in the use of a lightweight markup language, and in the commitment to transparency. We operationalized this vision by adopting the continuous documentation paradigm through Read the Docs, with the source code openly accessible on GitHub. This documentation is built from multiple Markdown text files, each addressing specific aspects of the application. When the source code is updated, Read the Docs activates mkdocs, a static website builder, which builds web pages from the Markdown files, and the result is published on a website served by Read the Docs. For the organization of the content of the documentation, we used our experience as trainers of new users on eScriptorium. It was unthinkable to offer this documentation in the form of an extensive tutorial. So instead, we created an entry point in the form of a quick start tutorial, which allows a new user to focus only on the essential features and get familiar with the interface. And then the rest of the documentation is broken down into in-depth descriptions of each feature. And this allows for the documentation to be a good supporting resource for training workshops, while also facilitating future updates for us as editors. Choosing Markdown over more elaborate formats meant that any reader spotting a blind spot in the documentation can offer a correction by editing the source file directly and pushing the proposed updates to the GitHub repository. You can also simply open an issue ticket and let us handle the updates. It took about 4 months to have a solid first version of the documentation, but as of April 2023, or eScriptorium version 0.13.6, the Read the Docs hosted eScriptorium documentation that we created was indeed added to eScriptorium's homepage as its official documentation. Our solution comes with inherent limitations. Similar to the existing resources at the time we began working on the documentation, it is susceptible to obsolescence as the developer team integrates new features. Also, as primarily users of eScriptorium ourselves, the content we propose may initially be exposed to blind spots. There are features we rarely use, so we don't really know all the use case for them. As a question worth exploring is that of the trustworthiness of the documentation generated by the users. And we think the transparency of the process and its openness to any contributions are the keys to remediate these limitations. Our efforts focus on the first proposition written in English only, but its compatibility with multilingualism makes it possible to imagine adding a French version later, or even integrating the German and Polish tutorials. On our side, this undertaking made us realize that contributions to open source software can come in diverse forms, including in the form of a rationalized documentation. Finally, to answer our initial question, the creation of a comprehensive reference documentation for a project-generated open source software, such as the eScriptorium documentation, can serve as a catalyst for accelerated integration into larger infrastructures. Firstly, by facilitating knowledge diffusion and enhancing accessibility, a well-documented project break down entry barriers, ensuring that a broader audience can understand and engage with the software. Secondly, the collaborative nature of documentation projects has the potential to foster community engagement, which could lead to the creation of a network of users actively involved in the software's development and adoption. And lastly, clear documentation can also attract developers and organizations looking for software solutions that align with their existing systems. So now we know it's possible to contribute to an open source software project with something else than code. We've discussed that what we think could be considered, should be considered when building a documentation. And now we do have a comprehensive documentation for eScriptorium in English. The next step is going to be to gather volunteers to create an actual multilingual documentation for eScriptorium. So that's one of the motivations to present this work today. Thank you very much, and don't hesitate to go check the GitHub page, which is accessible on the documentation of this